Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at a product from a company called Kalado, and this is their cordless vacuum cleaner. So this particular vacuum cleaner has a suction rating of 26 kPa. The power on this particular vacuum is 250 watts. It is available on Amazon, and as always I will have links in the description below. The included battery gives it a runtime of 50 minutes, but you do have the option of purchasing a separate battery with the actual unit as well. It does come with two filters, a crevice tool, a brush tool, and the actual main head. Alongside that, you do also get a sort of wall mount or accessory holder. Here you can see everything that you do actually get as part of the pack. The extension for the actual main head does actually extend both quite small as well as stretch up to an extended range of 112 centimeters. So it does mean that it's quite easy to use around the house. Here you can see the actual main unit. This is without the battery attached, and one thing I do like about this particular type of unit is that the battery is removable, just the actual battery itself, which means you can swap it out with a charged unit if you do go for the 2 battery pack, rather than having to charge the whole unit and not being able to use it at the same time. With the battery installed, most of the weight is in the handle, which is good because it means that maneuvering it is a little bit easier. Here you can see the actual displays on the top. When you first turn it on, the actual vacuum has 3 modes. So when you first turn it on, it will be in sort of medium mode. You push that button on the top to switch initially to low power mode and then up to high power mode as well. As you crank up the speed of the motor, it will also indicate on that display itself. I'm not sure why it needs all of those lines because you can't really go anywhere in between them, but that's how it is. The actual main brush head that comes with it does have built-in LEDs, so you can light up where you're actually vacuuming, and they're pretty decent. They do light up a reasonable amount of area around it. This is more for when you're getting into under sofas and things like that. It'll help you see a little bit better. In terms of the brush attachment, it does come attached to that little bracket on the end that you can see just there. It is advertised as being sort of tangle free, so it's not supposed to get tangles from hairs and things like that. From my testing, it looks identical to a Greenworks vacuum that I actually had I've still got it, and that definitely does get hairs tangled around it. It's probably not as bad because of their supposed V design, but it's not tangle free either in my opinion. One thing I didn't really like about the brush head is that the bristles are a little bit too soft in my opinion. I think in order to work on carpets, I think it does need some harder bristles. Because this is kind of designed to work on both carpets as well as hardwood floors, I can understand why they've gone with softer bristles so it doesn't scratch your hardwood floors, but on carpets it's not really pulling enough dust and debris because of those soft bristles as I would like. You'll see some sample clips later in the video where I actually test it on both the carpet in my home cinema as well as a rug in my living room. Now on the carpet it does a decent job because this room is generally kept very clean. However, once it got to the rug, that particular rug does hold dirt quite a lot, so it looks dull when you're actually looking at it, and then when you vacuum it, it brings back a more richer, deeper black sort of color. And what I did find was it wasn't able to pick up a lot of those small dirt and debris that gets stuck into the fibers of that particular rug, and that's something that both this and the Greenworks that I've also got both struggle with. That's where the Eufy vacuum that I use mostly around the rest of the house actually performs a little bit better because the bristles on that are a little bit firmer, which means it can pull out that dirt a little bit better. Overall, the actual build and design of this is pretty good. I do prefer the mechanism that they have on this one for emptying it over the Greenworks. However, what I don't like is if you do actually have that accessories attachment stuck onto the vacuum all the time, if you do push down on it, there is a chance that that can actually catch the button and it could actually open the bottom canister and empty the whole contents of what you vacuumed up back down again. So I wouldn't really recommend using it in that way. The other thing is I'm not really sure how that's actually supposed to work because it doesn't grip the pole of the vacuum very firmly. So if it was attached to the wall, apart from actually just holding it from tipping over, which it doesn't really do once you've got it in its smallest setting anyway, it doesn't necessarily hold the vacuum very tightly, so it could still fall out of there. So it's not like the Eufy vacuum that I've got where the vacuum drops down into it, which means it can't go anywhere. This kind of just clips on and there's nothing that's gripping it really firmly that would stop it from falling off. Okay, so coming on to the actual test, so here you can see it does have the motorized brush head, which means that when you're vacuuming it is going to create those carpet lines, but that also means that the suction side of things doesn't need to be as high in order to pick up the dirt and debris because the brush head is doing most of the work. Those LEDs, as you can see, in this particular shot, because there's loads of light, you don't really need it. But in some of the later shots, you'll see that it does actually do a pretty decent job in terms of lighting up the area where you are actually stood. Once again, in terms of maneuverability, it's about on par with most of the other cordless vacuums that I've tested. The brush head on this doesn't have any wheels at the back. That's one sort of downside of this type of design, where because they don't have wheels at the back, it can tend to drag a little, and it can also dig into deeper pile carpets a little. So as you're turning it, when you're not going just forward and back, you'll see that it does actually dig in quite a bit. And if you are interested in those perfect carpet lines, you're not really going to get them with that kind of head design. In terms of the cleaning power, as I said, this particular room isn't that bad. It's always kept clean, and basically I do all the cleaning in here myself, so I've never really got a lot of build-up. But with that said, it did actually fill up a decent chunk of sort of fibers and just general dust in the room. A lot of that could just be because I've had the windows open quite a lot recently, and it does tend to get a lot of dust coming into the room. Here you can see I do already have the accessories attachment connected to the pole as well, and it stays in place. However, I wouldn't really trust that to be mounted on a wall and to hold the whole vacuum up. There you can see a comparison. So with those LEDs are very, very bright. The ones on the actual walls, and you can see that the LEDs on the cordless head does actually do a pretty decent job in still lighting up that area and giving you some sort of indication in terms of whether you've picked everything up or not. Just flipping it round, that's where you can see it does kind of struggle, where it digs in a little, and especially if you're too upright, then this can be quite difficult to push through deep pile carpets. Okay, so coming on to the test on the rug, and I have sped this up by 2 times because I didn't want to make you sit there through the whole thing. But as you'll be able to see, it does a decent job. So it is picking up quite a lot of dust that you don't actually see. It just makes that whole rug look dull, so it makes it look grey, whereas once it's vacuumed, it brings back some of that deeper black sort of colour in the actual rug itself. What I would say is this is probably either on par or just slightly better than the Greenworks vacuum that I've had previously. That one I only use in the cinema room. This one will just be used everywhere else in the house. There's never really that much dust around this rug, but it's normally just crumbs and little bits of dust and debris that can fall on it just from day-to-day sort of usage. With regards to charging the batteries, because you do have the option of having those removable batteries, I did actually have one fully charged and then swap it out with the other one. I didn't actually go through a full charge though. Even though I didn't do a full house sort of cleanup, the usage that I did put it through, it did a pretty decent job in terms of how long it actually lasted. Whilst I was doing the rug, I did actually have it on the highest power just to see if it will actually die, and it didn't. So battery life on it is pretty decent. Obviously, if you do want to stretch it, you can reduce the speed down, and that will go further. Big test is probably cars and things like that. That's generally where it tends to die out, and that is where the second battery does come in useful, because as soon as one dies, you can just swap it out and then put the other one on charge, and then by the time you're done, the other one will probably be either at least half charged or maybe even fully charged. Okay, so that's my look at the Kalado cordless vacuum cleaner. So right now there is a big discount on Amazon, so it's down to $84.99, so I will have a link for it in the description below. I think for that price it's a pretty good purchase, just as a second vacuum. I wouldn't necessarily keep this as my primary vacuum around the house, but for odd jobs in rooms where you might want to have a second vacuum, or if you want to just keep this just for car duties or something like that, then I think it does do pretty good for that sort of price. And yeah, I would highly recommend this. As always, I will have more videos coming, so if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and turn on notifications, and I'd really appreciate if you can also give this video a thumbs up. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.